Afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for sparing your time and coming through this afternoon. The weather was a bit bad, but I'm glad you all managed to brave it and to come through. I will not explain much about what the meeting is all about. I guess from your invites, you probably have a clue or have an idea. And thankfully, there was no name there, so I will allow him to introduce himself in a minute or so, because there was no name. Everybody should be curious to know who he is, and he'll give us all the other details as they go. Just in case nobody knows who I am, my name is Chilungu. I'll spare you the rest. Chilungu Sangu. I'm a proud mother of 5. I'm a proud mother of 5, 4 boys and 1 girl. The 2 boys we met, the other 2 stay in heaven, and the girl is not around. Yeah, so, and I'm married to a very lovely man. Next to Jesus is the best man there. Then my father, and then Mr. Chasha. That's how they do it. Okay. I'll not say much about you. I'll let you two. Please go ahead. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right, so if you don't mind, my friends, good afternoon. I hope you're all fine. Okay, let me start by introducing myself. I don't know how much you know about me from Chile. I'm sure she has mentioned 1 or 2 things. My name is Collin Chasha. I work for Barclays Bank. I'm the risk director for Barclays Bank. Before that, I worked for Bank of Zambia. Well, in fact, I'll be 10 years in Barclays next month. Exactly today, next month, I'll be 10 years old in Barclays. Before that, I worked for the Central Bank, Bank of Zambia. I was there for 6 years. Before that, I worked for PwC. So I was there for about 5.5 years at PwC. And before that, I worked for a small consultancy company called WITS Financial Services. That was my first job after graduating from university, actually. But before that, I worked also for Zanaco for about 1.5 years. That's when I rediscovered my career the other time. So that's about me. And I love God. I go to North Media Center of God Church, where I'm the music director. Something I've been doing for the last, how many years? I don't know now. 20 years. Yeah, 20 years I've not been in the music industry. I'm married to 1 wife. We have 2 lovely boys, aged 15 and 13. So that's me. I'm an accountant by profession. I don't know who's doing accountancy. Maybe it's you. I don't know. Or not?
No.
Not yet. Okay. At the time, it was compulsory at PwC. All of us were forced to do ACCA. So that's how I found myself at ACCA. And but before that, I went to CPU, where I did the Bachelor in Business Administration, and then I did a postgraduate diploma in Accounting and Finance, then I did a Master's in Business Administration, and a Master of Science in Strategic Planning. So that's me, in short. And I'm happy to be here. She didn't give me a specific agenda for this meeting, so I'll just tell you stories. But I think for me, I just wanted to touch on 2 things about life. Because I think all of us are on a journey to discover that which God has prepared for you. All of us are on this trip to that destination that is unique to you. Because each one of us has a specific road. If your road is Cairo Road, that's your road. If you go to Great East Road, you probably will not reach a destination. So if God has placed you on the road that takes you to the destination, you must go that road. But the problem is, we really don't know how to find that road. How do we find a place that God wants us to be at? How do we discover purpose for our life. Now, one of the things that I'm passionate about is to help people find their passion, to find their purpose in life. I don't know that young lady has told you how I linked up with her. Let me tell you. We used to work in the same building. She was on the ground floor, I was the floor up. Now, I normally do mentorship at my work, and normally it's through HR, where they choose individuals that I'm supposed to mentor for a period of 2 years, and then we graduated. So I had about a team of 4 or 5 people I was mentoring in that particular year. Now, I used to see a lot, and I was fascinated by the way she used to walk. And she was one of the few persons that would never say hello to me for some strange reason. And every time I said hello to her, she was in a hurry to run away from me. And it was fascinating. And at that point, I already felt in my heart that I needed to make contact with the young lady and see where she's at. So I would deliberately say hello to her. As usual, she would be in a hurry, walk away, not even look at me. No, she doesn't like making eye contact. Very quickly she would go off. At one time, I decided, let me go to her desk and literally say hello to her, held her hand, looked into her eyes. Now I could see the torture she was going through. That I was at her desk and I was looking right into her eyes and saying hello to her. And I told her that I needed to mentor her. Now, it's a very awkward thing to do, she wouldn't do. I tried to do ABCD, she wouldn't do it, but I still keep pushing her. I'll give her books to read. I'm a firm believer in reading books. I'll give her books to read. She'll read a few and still stop. So we kept on going, and eventually she began to be a lot more comfortable. And of course, as I also usually do, I met her husband and she was comfortable with the process. So eventually she warmed up and we began to do what we do. Now, ultimately for me, and I need you to understand this carefully, ultimately for me, it's about understanding self. Do you know who you are? If I say, Barnabas, do you know who you are? To what extent do you know yourself? Every human being has 3 or 4 different aspects. There is the you, which everybody else knows about you. There's that you which only you know, nobody else. Only you, contained in the heart, is a big secret. Then there's another you which have made others believe who you are when you're not. Or the perception that's created by people based on what they see. Now, in spite of all this, the question is, who really are you? Do you know who you are? Now, this is a question that all of us sometimes don't have to ask ourselves. Any person who doesn't know who they are can never succeed. It's impossible. It's just impossible. Because if you don't know who you are, you will always be second best. Now remember, God has only created one you, and you are the only person who is the best at being you. Nobody else. No matter how somebody else tries to imitate you, they can never be better than you in being you. Now, who are you? Man, I've seen your face before, so I can't be there. Not that. So, who are you really? When you talk about you, who are you? Mr. Kavalika. Who are you? When you sit under the cover of the blanket at night and you ask yourself the question, who am I? It's tough. Now, when I went through those motions with this young lady, it was very tough. Because she had to literally start rediscovering herself in terms of her strengths and weaknesses and the calling of God upon her life. Second, which is the judgment, you will always be second best. You can't be the best. I discovered myself when I was 18 years old. That was the real discovery of self. Before that, I was always in groups trying to be what I'm not. We had a team of friends of ours. We used to call ourselves the Treacherous Five, the T5. I was at St. Paul's Hospital School in Kabwe. We used to play a lot, break dancing and everything else. We always used to do things as a team. And that's the year I met the Lord. I was quite young. In fact, I met the Lord a year later when I was 16. Now, when I began to see that in fact, I was better at being myself as opposed to doing things in a group, it changed my life. I began to pursue myself. I told God, show me who I am, and I'll pursue the calling in me that you have created. I was passionate to pursue myself. I would ask myself, what is it that God has given me that I can give out? Fulfillment in life is reaching the full potential that God has given in your life. That's what fulfillment in life is. It's got nothing to do with all the money that you can make or all the education you can amass yourself. No. It has to do with that which God has called you to do and to be. Now, for you who are young people, peer pressure in today's world is much stronger than it was in one time. The failure to identify self today is much higher because there's so much influence from what you see on television, your phone and everything. You lose the self in the translation. But trust me, when you pursue yourself, when you begin to pursue yourself, you discover what you can do easily without much effort and what you can't. You discover what you're good at. Remember, each one of us, God has given you something that you're good at. You don't have to work hard about it. I call those giftings or talents. Each one of us has something that you know you're good at. Do you know? And do you know what God has given you to good at? Our two lovely sisters, do you know what you're good at, ladies? Have you discovered the things that you're good at? You don't know yet. You don't. You go on. You know. You discover. Who knows? You know who knows by how much really they are good at. Look at this about one hand. Go down. So, Chilumu, this is your task to do with all these people. I need you to help them discover who they are and that which you are good at. Because if you are not, let me tell you, it will be tough. You will achieve, but at great cost. You will get there, but at great cost. Look at, you guys love football, right? I hope. Okay, let me give you an example of football. Mr. Messi, Lionel Messi, Barcelona, number 10. Arguably one of the best players in the world today. That guy scores goals effortlessly. The ball comes to him, he'll dribble once, twice, he scores. There are 5 defenders, he will meander his way and scores. No injury. That guy has been playing for more than 10 years and has had very few injuries. Do you know why he's so successful? Somebody helped him to discover his talent in football at the age of 8. Usain Bolt, he was discovered at the age of 9. That was a run. And everything was pursued towards fulfilling that which God had already given him. Harry Milanzi, you know the footballer, our local footballer Harry Milanzi? He was a good footballer, he used to score goals. But did you notice how much work it took for him to score a goal like that? Even when the goal is here, is open, the goalkeeper is beaten, is lying down this side, he's alone, facing the goalpost over the bar. When you discover who you are, you will be efficient. In other words, you use fewer resources to get the job done. This is what the developed world focuses on. When I left University of Zambia, I went to the University of Zambia with the aim of becoming a doctor. Who's doing medicine here? I heard someone doing medicine. This one. Yeah, I was there too. My father was convinced I was supposed to be a doctor. So in 12, he literally came to choose for me. First choice, University of Zambia, school of natural resources, NS. I used to take both sciences and bookkeeping at secondary school. And bookkeeping for me, I used to pass it without much work. But because of peer pressure, it used to be frowned upon as a subject for weaklings. Unless you're doing the sciences, then which can't do it. Okay? So we all had to push ourselves in sciences. Went to user, and I failed for the first time in my life. First year. I had to use where you doing Apex. First year, boom. I failed. My father was in shock, he almost died of a heart attack. After that, I had to make amends. I went back home, my father was upset, but he died in the process, the road accident. Then God miraculously opened the door for me to go and work in Monze at Zanaco in 1991. I was a 20-year-old. So I go in Zanaco, a job I didn't apply for, by the way. Some of just opened the door. Now, when I began to work in Zanaco, for all these years, I was still convinced I was supposed to be a doctor. I went to work in Zanaco. I'm a 20-year-old young man. For the first time in my whole life, I knew I belonged to a bank. I enjoyed my job. I was the first one to go for work and the last one to leave. I just literally enjoyed my job. At that point, I knew in my spirit and in my heart that I was going to be a banker. There was no doubt about it. No doubt, not a single shred of doubt in my mind. I discovered I was very good with the banking, commercial subjects, accounting, commerce issues, what. I was very good at it. But I was forcing myself to be a doctor, when in fact it was not where the grace of the Lord had been for my life. I applied to go to CBU. 1992, I went to CBU. I did my BBA there, I was the best student. Did my ACC and postgraduate diploma. Now, the last time I was in school full-time was my first degree. I've done 2 master's degrees, I've done ACCA and a postgraduate diploma. I wasn't in school, I've been reading on my own. How is that, you may ask? I have found what I'm good at. It's a commercial subject. I read and pass. I don't know how many years of being at Northmid. All things I was doing in school, I was still singing in the choir. I was still doing what I needed to do. Do you know what has happened? I discovered my space, I've pursued my space, and the rest is history. Today I'm a director in Pakistan. If I had pursued medicine, I would probably have graduated, but I've been a frustrated man. I've never been happy. Now, happiness is a function of finding yourself and moving in the calling that God has given you. It is a lot easier. That's why Budala, nursing was a vocation. You need to have a calling to be a nurse. Today, people go into nursing because the only thing available to them. They've applied for teaching, regret. Applied banking, regret. Palasa, I'm going to be a nurse. That's why we've got many nurses who are sadists in the clinics and people are dying. They don't care. They're in the wrong place. Now, when a nation has many people doing the wrong thing, there will be no development. You have a nation of frustrated people. Madam. The difference with the country is that people do what they're good at, they do it passionately, and everybody respects the job they do. If you're a janitor, sweeping, if you're good at sweeping, sweep. You'll find joy and you do the right thing, you'll be happy. So, what am I saying here? I'm saying, in everything that you are pursuing, make sure it's in line with who you are, fundamentally. If you don't like blood and want to be a doctor, you will be very tough. If you don't like numbers and want to be an accountant, you will struggle. If you don't like talking in public and want to be in communication, how will you speak? If you can't stand to impart knowledge and not be a lecturer, how will it work? You might get it, you might get there, but to be at high cost, lots of frustration and pain. You will not be the best at giving that. So let's go back again. Who are you, Nembo? Matilda, who are you? What has God created you to be? This is a very serious question which each one of you, as you go home today, must ask yourself. You are still young. Don't make the mistakes we made, but pursue things which are out of our parameters. Find your niche, find your space, and pursue it. Don't be all over the place. Today you're doing marketing, tomorrow you are doing engineering, after that you are doing law. Be focused. Now people ask me, so can someone have multiple careers? It's possible. But there's always a fundamental and effective career or vocation that you follow. One. For me, music is second nature. By the way, I met her join the Baptist choir as well. She was one of our dancing queens. No kidding, she was one of our very good singer, and she did good stuff in the choir. Now, for me, singing is second nature. I don't struggle to do music. It's not a distraction to me. I'll go for work, go for choir, go home, I'm perfectly fulfilled. I don't struggle to write songs. I can sit for 3 minutes and I write a song and I have a tune for it. It just comes naturally. So for me, music and what I do at the office complement each other. So my art side and my professional side work together to create this Collin Chasha that is standing in front of me. And I use both abilities, which are God-given, to influence my environment. Now, when you find who you are and you discover your purpose, you become an influencer as opposed to being the influenced. Now, how many of you want to influence? All of you, I suppose. Let me tell you, if you don't know who you are, haven't discovered your space, you can never influence anybody. You will always be the influence. People who will dance on your head, my brother, don't know who you are. And you'll be changing mind all the time. The Bible says a double-minded person is what? Is very, what's the term? I can't use the King James version. Unstable in all his ways. And he must not expect anything from the Lord. The Bible, right? Now, instability of mindset, which is something she was talking about, it leads to inability to focus. Focus is an ability that is engraved in you as an individual. Once you find your space, focusing is very easy. You don't have to work it. Because now focus. No, it will come naturally. Naturally. It's like when, I suppose most of you have had an opportunity to fall in love. Now, even when there are so many women, I'm talking about guys, even if there are so many women in a group, when you know the one you want, you can talk to everybody, but when your eyes are there, suddenly you focus, singular focus. Because that's your interest. You have found something that resonates very well with your inner being. Now, the vast majority of people that fail to focus through is because they're doing something different from their core calling. It's a waste of time, waste of resources, and it's painful. It's expensive. Extremely expensive. I say to you, if you want to be happy in your career, want to be happy in your job or in your business, do the thing that God has preserved for you. On Friday afternoons, that's why I've been able to come here. I have a room at my office, even my empty house. I will do everything, anytime, any meetings. Friday afternoon, I've told everybody in my office, I don't want a single meeting. I don't want an appointment. It's my free time from 14 hours to 13 hours. That's the time I've reserved for me to be energized. I'll sit in my office, swing on my chair, look into the sky, or stand at the window, just watch cars. Because I need to rediscover. I'm continuously rediscovering myself. I question myself, Collin, so how are you doing? Do you think you are meeting your goals? Are you in the right direction? How many people have you influenced today? What change have you created around your environment today or in the last 1 week? What are the areas of improvement? When you do a self-assessment occasionally, when you have that moment when you have to be away from everybody and be yourself and question, challenge yourself, you will get somewhere. So you're going to go through life, you will find that years have gone and you haven't come into a space of life. So, all this to say, life is dynamic. Find your space, find your lane, and run your race. The Bible says, for the race is not for the swift. Otherwise, the fastest people will be the richest. Who would have thought Mr. Edgar Lungu would be president of the Bank of Ghana? Who would have thought that Donald Trump would be president of the US? Who? And you confessed. All these years, people bought me Donald Trump books. I've not read a single one of them. I just couldn't bring myself because I had a prejudiced view of that man. But when he won the presidency, I went back to my closet and I removed all the books written by that man. And I noticed something. I looked at all, I didn't read just the titles of the books. I noticed something about that man. His tenacity. He's got a high level of focus such that he doesn't care about what you think about him. Once he has focus, that's it. He'll go for it. That man knows what he wants. You can batter him, you can say all the rubbish about him, he doesn't care. You know what? He has learned the trick that the world does not define you. Your neighbor does not define you. Not even your parents define you. They just gave you the DNA. They don't define you. God defines you. The rest of the people can only affirm or disprove. But it doesn't matter. Approval or disapproval is only meant to help you refocus or not to refocus, to see certain things that you should work on. So, what has God called you to be? Who are you? Tough question, right? You need to do some soul-searching, all of you. You're probably wondering why children is doing what she's doing. It's a deeper story to what she's doing. Much deeper than most of you will ever know or imagine. Much deeper than you will imagine. She is now moving into her space of operation, into the space which fulfills her destiny. Destiny has to do with you doing the right thing every day, working towards the destiny. When you do that, you'll be successful, you'll be influential, you'll be the best of your job. And God will always, the grace of God will be sufficient for you as you do that. Let me address in conclusion one thing. Do not listen to all sorts of voices concerning you. I didn't say do not listen to people. I said voices. Because some of those voices are yours. Do not listen to all the voices that speak so ill about you. And one of that voice is yours. Especially you ladies, you have identity issues. Zambian ladies. Most of you have lots of identity issues. And I can say this with certainty because, including Chulungu, I've mentored about 12 ladies. from my experience with them, the common denominator is the same for Zambian women. I've mentored a Ugandan lady, Nigerian and South African. The disposition is different. Zambian women tend to listen to too many voices, and they allow the voices to define them. In the end, the world forces you to be what you are not. They put you in a box and they squeeze you. You can't breathe, you can't be yourself. And therefore we minimize your ability to be impactful in your world. Why are Zambian women not assertive? Why are Zambian women so fearful of everything? If a Nigerian woman came in here, you won't have to ask. You will know that this one is Nigerian, right? The way she walks, the way she talks, you will know that you are Nigerian. And I often wondered why Zambian women don't make it in the top organizations internationally. It's because of one of those issues which I can deal with another time. But most important, it's about you and you and you and you. Once you start yourself, opportunity will look for you. You will not look for opportunity. Now, did you hear me? Once you're walking in your space, you're walking in your destiny, you're walking in what God has called you to do, you will not look for opportunity. Opportunity will wait for you. Opportunity will come and knock at your door. This is why you notice some people, things just happen for them effortlessly. Normally when you have to fight very hard to have certain things done. I discovered this much happen in my life, and this is why these days I don't apply for jobs. Jobs look for me. I have invitations every so often, such as I could talk to you. Some of them are just saying, no, you can't afford me. No, but let's talk. I said, no, you can't afford me. I have lots of opportunities. Some of them offer me a lot more money than what I'm earning in market today. There was one company last year, beginning of this year, they offered me 3 times what I earned. 3 times what I earned. It was a number that is insane. But because I know who I am and what God has called me, I'm not defined by money. I'm not moved by money. Money doesn't define me. I define money. I rejected that offer. Now you're laughing. I must be a mad man, huh? I turned down that offer because I knew that institution is not what God wrote in the plan of God for my life. It's not. Take it down. I'd have gone in there, probably would have been fired after a year, or I would have been restructured, or I don't know. I chose to stay. But of course, when they gave me the offer letter, I went to my boss and said, hey, boss, they have given me a job, these guys. So can we talk? So I used it to negotiate my salary. And they listened to me. My salary was adjusted. So I use my position and my status where I am to create value for myself. I didn't have to go and plead to my boss. Boss, please, me I do too much work, increase my salary. There was no grief about, no, you're not seeing my job, you're not seeing what my output. Give me more money. No, I just took a letter. And phone calls and emails were flying everywhere. Within a week, I had a new letter spelling out the condition of sales. Within a week. What am I trying to say? When you find your space, you will call the shots. They will come and ask, oh, Mr. Kasapa, how can we work with you? How can you help us? How much do you want? Young lady, I hope I'm provoking your mind right here. Now, this is the level each one of you, God has called you to be. To influence, as opposed to be the influenced. And once you reach that level, you will perceive opportunity and not wait to see it. When you see an opportunity, it's too late. It means somebody else has taken it. But when you perceive it, you're perceiving it in your spirit. Before it even manifests, you know it. Therefore, because you're in the right place, you move in that position and God will place you there. You get full value of that opportunity. Are we together? You're very quiet, huh? Are we communicating here? Is it that? Now guys, this may sound theoretical, it may sound like I'm just talking from without. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm speaking from experience. My own experience. God places you for specific reasons. And once you do that, you will be a very happy person. You know, for me, when I go by to people, they ask, Collin, do so much work in the bank. And my job is hard because everything bad which happens in the bank, everything, something wrong goes in the bank. They say, Mr. Chief Risk Officer, where were you when these things were happening? But I go home and I sleep comfortably. I have no nightmares about my job. Because I know where I stand and in whom I believe. To the extent that once I sit in my office, I am comfortable with the decisions I make by His grace. When time comes for me to move, I shall move and do something else. But right now, that's the position. Yes. When you're in the wrong place, you will be at a point of anxiety all the time, failing to sleep. You're worried about your school, worried about me. Let me tell you, worry is a function of uncertainty. Did you know that? If you are certain, you won't be worried. Uncertainty is what brings worry. That's what the Bible says. If by being worried, are you going to ask anything to your life, your height, or your life? No. Now we worry because of a sense of uncertainty. Uncertainty is because we don't know. Not knowing is because you have not discovered who you are. One day they came to investigate me at the office. There was a very big, powerful businessman in this country. I went down very strong, and I was very tough, with integrity, no funny things, very tough. Tried to bribe me and refused the bribe. He went to the high office, went to State House, went to Bank of Zambia to report me, even wrote a letter to a group CEO in London concerning me. Before I knew it, a very senior person from England came to Zambia. I only come to know after that actually I was But throughout all that, I was comfortable, at peace with myself, because I was confident that the decisions I made were not only good for my integrity and what I believe in, but also for business. This same powerful man wants to come back to borrow from Barclays. But I've told the MD that I want him to apologize to me in writing. He's a proud man, he has not done so. Now, to do a thing like that, you must be certain. And that certainty comes from within, because you perceive in your spirit, you know who you are and what to stand for. I'm persuaded beyond any measure that I know. That's why I'm not worried. Husband and brother, don't be worried. God has said certain things over my life and confirmed with other people, so I know where I'm going. And by the grace of God, we'll get there. But for now, I'm right here. So once you know who you are, you will not be troubled troubled by a boy who comes and telling you, I love you, what. Because you know what is worth your love. You know. You won't be troubled by this guy. No, if I don't say this today, you'll go to my neighbor, Shani. No, some of the things that you worry you ladies. Where will I find a man to marry? Are you trying to tell me that there'll be a shortage of men? There are no men. You found men before you were born, you will die, you will leave men on earth. So why do you worry about a man? Huh? Even the guys, you worry about so many things. Are you trying to say there will be no women tomorrow? They will be there. So once you know who you are, so I'm sure that many guys or your sister here that will come around. If you don't know who you are, you will marry the wrong guy. And it's a tragedy when you marry the wrong guy. Happiness is not a function of how handsome he is. Happiness in marriage is not a function of how much money you have. Success in the job is not a function of how much money. There are many people who are rich but they don't have sleep. There are many women married to very rich men but have no happiness at all in their marriages. And I've also seen people that live happily in a comfortable home. Not too much money, but they're okay. So, all this to say, we must discover who we are and pursue our career on the basis of the giftings that God has given us. If you know the giftings that God has given you, you will not bury the gift in the sand like that child. You'll be like the other two who got the talent, invested, made a profit, and brought back the master. You gave me 2, I've made 4. Are we together? Okay, I'll end here. Let me know your questions. Okay, Mr. Howard.
Yeah. So the question I had initially you already answered when you spoke about matters concerning money. But I'll ask a variation of the question. There are situations, right, where you need to do what you need to do, i.e. you're firstborn, and you need to provide for siblings and so on and so forth. In situations like that, you can take pretty much any opportunity that comes your way, right? Now, when you say, and also there's also other factors which contribute, like right now, prices are high and so on and so forth, so life's expensive. So, the question I have, maybe it's more personal as well, because I live on my own, I need to fend for myself. So in situations like that, had I been given that job, which paid 3 times more, I would have gone. Not because I thought it better than the one I had, but simply because it provided more opportunities in regards to maybe my ability to save, my ability to invest, and so on and so forth. And I guess it comes from a conviction of knowing which way to go, I mean, if you do, and so on and so forth. I think the question that I need to ask is, just the truth of the matter is that it's a contributing factor. The money is a contributing factor. And having more money means more things. It means I can help this person and help that person and pay school fees for someone else. So I think the question is to what extent, if you do turn it down, I'm thinking that you need to have a plan. But if you're uncertain about your current situation, especially, it's different if you turn it down because you know that your job is where you need to be and you're fulfilled in your job. But if, say, you're a garden boy, then someone comes and says, like you come and work at ZRA as a customs officer, and someone says, no, there are many opportunities there, and so on and so forth. And you know that ZRA is not necessarily the place for you to be, but it's definitely better than being a garden boy. I think it's that way.
It's a balance, right?
Exactly.
Good question. So how do you have no job, and an opportunity comes for you to be a soldier. What do you want to do? And the man is good. You're the firstborn, you've got a number of siblings. And you know that you detest holding a gun. You detest the idea of killing. Or just in war. You detest all that. What are you going to do? You are a young lady, you have no job. And here's a man who works for Barclays Bank, he's a boss, and you know he's an atheist or he's a Satanist. But he's offering you the world. And he says, my friend, I've read, listen to the text. This Range Rover you are seeing here is yours. You only have to say yes. What do you do? Are you going to choose between walking every day, killing insects on the road with feet, or get a Range Rover from a man who you know is a Satanist, is involved in witchcraft, and is offering you the world? I'm just expanding the question of that. What would you do? Now, I'd like to get the example of Jesus Christ. Here's the situation. They said, the Holy Ghost is upon me, right? And God has given me whatever He said all that. He goes into the wilderness to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. He comes out of the wilderness. And the Bible says, the devil came to do what? To tempt him. Now here is Jesus Christ. He has come out of fasting in order to prepare for His ministry. To fulfill the plan of God for mankind. Part of which is for Him to die on the cross. He knew that. He was going to go through a painful process of dying on the cross. And the devil comes and offers an alternative. If only you can fall down and worship me, I will give you the extent of this kingdom to you. If only you do this, I will do this. If only you sleep with me. For young ladies, the guy will tell you, I'll pay the school fees for the next 3 years. If only you can help me steal 20 million from this company, I'll buy a farm for you. I'll take care of your whole family. And for you ladies, I'll take care of your mother, father, and all your siblings. You come to England. The Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Now that story of losing your soul is not so much around losing your soul through death. It's actually losing your identity. That's the crux of the matter in that scripture. What does it profit you to gain the whole world and walk out of your destiny? Lose your identity. That's the question there. So, to answer the question, right? Money, another Bible says, money answereth all things. The Bible also says, the love of money is the root of all evil. So how do we balance the two? The answer is in both scriptures. If you are going to be driven by money, which answereth all things, you will fall into sin and it's a trap. You will worship the devil without you knowing. You know, money has a language. It talks. Do you know that? And so when you have money in your pocket, suddenly there are many ideas of how to spend it. When you don't have it, those ideas are not there. How come the ideas only come when the money is in the pocket? Money talks, there's a language. It itches. So when the opportunity comes, it will eat. You can see the money, you can see all the things you can do with that money. But is it the right thing for you? Is it the perfect will of God and the permissive will of God? My step to you is, be in the perfect will of God. God is not dead. Doesn't have a short hand that can't give. Let me tell you what happened. After finishing university, I was the best student at Confront University. All my friends were except me. It was tough. In my intake as best student, graduating best student, I was the last one to get a job. When I was starting my job, I was earning 200 kwacha. Even the secretary was earning more than me. More than me. She was getting 400. I was getting 200. The woman I was getting 800 kwacha. I was earning 200. I couldn't afford to take her for ice cream. She was the one taking me for ice cream. My wife now. It was tough. It was tough. But I remained faithful. I couldn't go for prayer at church. I couldn't singing in the choir. I couldn't doing the things I love most. And finally, after a year and a half, now during one time, to get a job after 18 months was laughable. During one time, by the time you are putting the last full stop in the exam room, you have employment as you walk out of the exam room. That's how it was. There was nothing like applying for jobs, what you do today. My predecessors used to get employed in 30. Everybody at CBU had a job before you graduated. Now here's the case. School facilities that I passed well, last one to get a job, and a low-paying job. Now, there was lots of pressure to get other jobs that were paid lots of money. Now, for me, I had already discovered myself. I knew I wasn't going to work for BP. I knew I wasn't going to work for all the other institutions. I knew that it wasn't for me. I knew for me, financial institution was my space. I knew that, no doubt in my heart. Some of those offers, I let them pass. My mother thought I was a madman. Painful as it may be, I got my first job at Wheat Financial Services. That's the first job I told you. A year, and I joined in May 1996. March, the following year, I had a new job at PwC. And they gave me 4 times as much. The following year, I'm prepared to get married. I got 3 salary increases in 1 year. 3. I was the highest paid person in terms of percentage-wise, in terms of salary increase. My salary increased by 126% in 1 year. So, in other words, not to show you, going first does not necessarily guarantee success in your life. But when you are in the will of God, when you're doing the right thing, you will bypass everybody who was ahead of you. And you get there swiftly and nicely with a smile on your face, without having to do strange things. So let's go back again. Do not be defined by money. People who are defined by money are the ones who go to prostitution. They're the ones who think they can pay for anything as long as it's money. They're the ones who say every human being has a what? A price. They're the biggest fraudsters, corruption people, and everything. Money was not meant for that. Money was meant to enhance the work of God here on earth. So, I come back to you. Know your space. If you are so pressurized and you know that you're supposed to be there, but the opportunity is there, is this. I would say, on an exceptional basis, go there for as long as you know that you're supposed to go there that week. I'll give you an example. A lady came to see me 2 years ago. Got a job with one of the financial institutions. Okay? They came to see me, so what do you think? Should I go for this job? She was working for another company. I said, okay, yes, you may, but please, be in this company for how many months? 12 months. I gave her 1 year, please, only 12 months. Move out and move into mainstream banking. She went in there, she got excited about all the things. They gave her a big title. She became very excited. I told the husband, can you tell your wife to start looking for a job quickly and move out of there? It felt like we were just being silly. Today, she's failing to sleep. Has lost weight. The company is about to collapse. So all this to say, guys, you need to be careful with your lives. Be extremely careful. You make the wrong turn, sometimes you might not manage to come out, unless you come out as a pillar of salt. When Lot and remember that story, right? Yes. The other man who was full of understanding of purpose, just stood there and asked the young man, so ufuna kwenda kuti we? So they were on a mountain. This side was a valley, there was a beautiful plateau this side. The valley, by nature of the lowland, looked very green and very nice because lots of rain there. That's what Sodom and Gomorrah was. The other side, because it was high ground, a bit of sunlight too much, so looking grayish, not very attractive. The man looked and said, I want to go this side. Okay. The other man went to the other side. He pursued that which was nice to the eye. My friend, let me tell you, what you see, especially when you look for a job, what you see is a function of what money has said to you. You are seeing the job as being good because money has spoken that you can pay school fees and everything, therefore you have seen. That man was seeing opportunity for business in Sodom and Gomorrah. But in the heart of hearts, that guy knew that this place is a no-go area. Lot. He knew. But he was overtaken by the good things of life, the nice things. I want to drive a nice car, I want to have designer clothes, nice perfume, and you go beside. You are clamped by the enemy. Had he gone to the other side, he would have started rough, but the grace of God would be sufficient for him. He would have made it nonetheless. This is why we must understand the times and seasons like Issachar's children. Times and seasons are different. We all have times and seasons. I had my own time of great desperation, great pain. Great pain. By the time I got my first job in a bank, I used to walk for 10 kilometers every morning. 10 kilometers. To walk to the roadside, to hitchhike to go and work in the bank. I used to leave my home at 4 in the morning to walk, knock off at the bank, hitchhike, and then walk again. I would arrive home around midnight. I would just arrive, drink tea or something, fast asleep. That's my first job in the bank. But in spite of all that, I was extremely excited. I was a 20-year-old. That has paid off. The director today. Now when I tell the story, some people laugh. I say to myself, I just like stories. It's real. Stayed in a house that had no door. The shanty compound in Monze. In pursuit of my dream. No door in that house. Shanty compound in Monze. I had a choice to do something else for that. I had a choice. While I was working there, some big commercial farmers offered me a few jobs. Come and be my manager for this investment. I refused. We were just suffering here. No, come. I said no. So, sometimes God will test your patience. God will test your faith. God will test your resilience, ability to survive when you're under pressure. God will test you. God will take you through all that. It's a season. Yeah? There will be a season. I don't know why I keep coming to you guys. There will be a season when there will be lots of men pursuing you. Left, right, and center. You'll be spoiled for choice. The tall ones, the short ones, the fat ones, they'll be coming anywhere. Spoiled for choice. Spoiled for choice. There's also a season when no one really looks at you. When no guy even says hi. They are all bypassing and going together. What a moment. Those moments. Seasons of life. It's in those moments of pressure when no man is looking at you. That's when you discover who you are. If your discovery of yourself is not strong enough, you will fall for anything in the trousers, the value. And you travel. Are you listening? Same thing for you guys. Be patient. So once you know certain brother, it will be easy. You will not wander around. For me, all my career, I knew my strength is, like I said, accounting, financial services, that was my strength. That's why I've done what I've done. All my studies are business related. ACCA, business administration, everything. And I'm comfortably happy. I know she's been chasing me. I promised her that by now I should have finished my doctorate. I haven't finished, but I'm still working on it. For me, it just comes. It's not, I must not struggle and sleep. Don't sleep for 4 nights because I'm pounding. No. I don't do such things. When you're in the right space, my sister, you will sleep comfortably, study and pass. There's one young lady at CB. She was 2 years behind my junior. She was friends with my wife. I introduced her to the choir. She's a Christian. I introduced her to the choir, I told her to name this thing and helped her to establish herself, which she did. This girl would sit on her bed while others are watching TV and read, still go and get 98% exam. When others are bounding the whole night, just sit. Today, she was, in fact, you know her, Charity. Yeah, Charity was one of my young sisters at school. She's a partner now. The only difference for that girl is she discovered who she was very early. And when we helped her to be in that space, it was very easy for her to refocus. She had a few challenges. At some point, she lost her bearing, but we helped her to come back. She was one of the youngest partners in that firm. At least in somebody. So it's possible, right? Now, each one of us has a journey, like I said at the very beginning. You have the route, find it. Find your space and walk. Next question. Yes, sir.
Finding space or my space. We're living in a day where from primary school to junior secondary, and especially when senior secondary is done, you think you know what you have to do, but many years later you find out I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So usually going with what's exciting, what's interesting. And most of the time, guardians, parents have the big say in that. So like in this case, you may say, I want to do this, but because they know it's not as well-paying a career right now, they'll say, no, go this direction. And yes, maybe you are intelligent, so they know you can achieve in that direction. But my point is, so I've gone through life, or we've gone through life for so many years, basically surviving, you know. This is how I make money, okay? There is no that passion and interest into something, the focus that's required. Now when you're at this point, how do you then, what the term branch out and discover yourself? Because you're already in this mode of survival.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
And what we have described is exactly what has forced our brothers and sisters in Europe to fail to come back home. They're stuck in what they call a rat race. They are working all the time but not going anywhere. They go and do odd jobs there. I had an opportunity to go to the UK soon after university. When things are not working out for me, I told you things are not working out for me. I had an opportunity to go for my master's and stay there. My best friend left. I refused. I stayed. Well, I suppose it was just by the grace of God, because the reason why I stayed was because I wanted to get married. But the desire to go wasn't that strong, it wasn't strong. I knew I had a lot more to do back home. He went there, stayed 10 years, wasted his life, but was brave enough to know that, this is not my life. He came back, settled down, he's working for Zanaco. He's not at the top, but at least he's in management. But he wasted 10 solid years in London. 10. Now he has found his space. He's happier. While he was there, his marriage broke. He's happier now. He has settled down and has come back to God. He's living backside. He had backslidden. He's back with God. When you are in the right space, my brother, and you know what that space is, never say it's too late. Branch out and do what you do. Do not go through life surviving. And that's the thing you said, surviving. God has not called us to survive. God has called us to live. To live and enjoy life. To enjoy the fullness of His blessing here on earth. So it requires lots of courage to do that. I've seen people change their career much later. And you know, God is good. Sometimes even that you're doing, not to get away, but I've picked up a few lessons, a few skills which can be helpful to the right space when to go there. But it's all about focus. Let me give an example of how focusing is important. When I began working at bank at the time, I've always loved farming. I grew up with farming with my father here and there. And I've always loved the idea of having a farm. I bought a piece of that because I was focused. So let me define this. Okay? In everything you do, you must get the mind of God. Now, God works with this principle. Listen carefully. The principle of God is to see the end result before He starts. In everything you do, every journey, as such a journey, you must know the end where you're going before you make the first step. That's how you discover yourself too. Ask yourself the question, what are you going to look like 10 years from now? What will you do? What will you be doing? My principle is this. I prepare for my future 10 years in advance. For the role that I have today, I prepared for it in 1993, more than 20 years ago. I saw myself in the future when I was still a young man, I was 22 years old. Here's what happened. How many students here? Here's what happened. When I knew who I was supposed to be, I was in third year at Confront University. When it was clear that I was meant to be a director in a bank, it changed everything around me. I didn't care about anybody. And I told God, since you have told me, and I believe it, that I'll be a director in a bank, I might as well start preparing myself to be a director. So this is what I did. I changed my courses. All those courses which people were afraid of, I took them. One of the courses, I was the only student. I used to meet with the lecturer at Napa, teaching him. I changed my dress code. I stopped wearing jeans when going for lectures. Every single day in that year, I wore a suit and a briefcase. I used to carry my books in the briefcase to go for lectures. The whole year. People laugh, this chap is mad. So you're laughing at me. But when I meet them today, they will say, Collin, you saw this when all of us were busy just running around. When you see your end result, it changes your behavior today. But if you don't know where you're going, you'll be able to be floating. You try this guy, you try this girl, you try this career. Just wasting time. When I knew about what I was going to do, I started studying. I said, God, you have told me 5 years from now, this is the kind of role I will have. I started studying. I did SCCA because I knew I was going. I did my MBA. It's already planned because I knew what I was going to do. Now, she'll teach you with 7 habits of successful people. I don't know, some of you, I'm sure she has taken you through that. It's one of the habits. And then, guys, this is fundamental. If you can only practice this, number one, you'll be very unique. People will misunderstand you. But it's okay. You'll be a lot more focused. You'll see things that others don't see. You'll be like Joshua and Caleb, who looked over the hill and saw a land that flows with milk and honey, but everybody else was seeing you're like grasshoppers in their sight. That's the difference. You see things that nobody else will see, except you. You'll be a lot more successful. Please do not go through life on a chukuruwacha basis. It's extremely dangerous. That's why we've got too many failures in this country. That's why we've got so many failed projects in this country. That's why our politics is a failure in this country, because we have no foresight for the future. We live on a daily basis. Jesus, from the time he was born, he already saw the cross. The current president of Ghana, when he was a little boy, was already seeing himself as the president because he was already interacting with presidents at the time. The president of Kenya today, there's a picture I saw on the internet, the president of Kenya today. There was a picture where he was a little boy and he was in the company of 3 other men, who all became presidents. If you don't know that you are an eagle and you live amongst chickens, you'll be a chicken. You behave like one. Until you know that, I'm an eagle. I'm supposed to fly high. You will behave and eat like a chicken. Now, for you to know that an eagle, you must know who I am, who you are. And this is why I get that very big. I said, who are you? Madam, what's the name? Cindy. You know who you are. You will develop the right skills. The skills that David developed as a shepherd boy are the skills that became so important in his later life. He slew Goliath. He went to the battle at Ziklag. It was so instrumental in him becoming king over Israel. If one has read about strategic planning and strategic thinking, David is my guy. That's the best leader ever to live on earth. So that's what life is about. Question? Yes, sir.
That's on how to discover yourself. The question was who I am. I'd like to maybe explain the more simple way, because for me, that's been a question that I've built myself for a while now. I don't know, I find it very late, so to say, self-discovery.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to maybe simplify it, so to say, what does it mean to discover yourself, describe your space?
Let me start. Here's a simple way.
Yeah.
Here's what I did that night there. I was helping you. What was the first thing you did in a mentorship? Okay? That's the first thing I do for all my mentees. I tell them, can you write down your strengths and your weaknesses? Now, I like that process because people who don't know who they are, they'll come back with one strength and one weakness. At that point, they don't know who they are. Me, I don't even know. Do I have any strength? I have no strength. I know I can't. First discovery is about being aware of self. Now, self-awareness doesn't need you to be a Christian. You just need to be a human being who is true to yourself. Self-awareness, it comes up when you are alone in your bedroom and you ask yourself those questions. You are alone. You are alone. And ask those hard questions. Confront your fears. Confront the things that you're scared of. Confront, things you're good at. Confront the prejudices. Confront the issues people always complain about you. You know them. I don't have to tell you. If you're very talkative, people will complain, I come back about too much. I took one and I think, you know. Nobody has to tell you, you know. How come when you're in a group and there's something to be done, you stay at the back? Don't position yourself to take lead. Probably you're not a leader. Or you're scared to be a leader. So how can you if you know you're not scared to be a leader, how can God give you responsibility? Number 2, you must connect with the money of the one who created you. If you want to know the car, go to the money, right? Go to the money. If you want to know how this thing works, go to the money. The word of God. Isaiah, those difficult things of, which don't make sense. They are prophetic. My wife reads those things every day. She reads, and she's prophetic in her operation as a Christian. Me, I don't. I struggle to understand those things. But when you give me 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, I can read the whole night. That's how the word of God helps you to identify who you are. And for me, at that point, it was just a confirmation of where I was already. So I'm drawn to read certain books. What is it that you like watching on television? What excites you? Huh? What is it that it just creates some excitement in you? What sports do you like to watch or to participate in? All those things, when you start questioning yourself, trust me guys, let me tell you, we just pretend or we refuse to acknowledge who we are. In which one of God has given us the ability to know. It's just that sometimes it's so painful and graphic to realize our weaknesses. We are scared to confront them, the weaknesses. We shy away. Confront weaknesses in the brand. When I was doing the profile with this lady, it was tough for her to confront her weaknesses. It was hard. Look at what she did today. She never, I'm telling you, I know you. Not once did she ever imagine she could do this. I can tell you today. Not once, this lady. Not once. But in being faithful, in following through half-hearted in madness, we are here today. And God helps us to get there. Today she had no question to know who she is. About the session with her. She has taken me through. It's very clear. I was just smiling when she was telling me. I said, Chulumu, do you remember the conversation I had with you 3 years ago? Chulumu, do you remember this? Yes, she is there. And by the way, even the things she refused to do, the assignments she refused to do 3 years ago, she has done them this year. She has done them this year. Now she's in overdrive. She's doing so much even beyond what I've asked her to do. She has discovered her space. Isn't she happy? Does she look happy? Given what she went through, that accident, losing a child, and going through that pain, to be what she is today is an act of God. But even beyond that, she has discovered who she is. Most people would have been a mess. A big mess. I know God has a sense of humor sometimes. At the time she had the accident, I was acting empty of the bank. And there was now a request for her to be evacuated. I signed very quickly. Take her to South Africa. That's how God operates sometimes. But you know, at the end of the day, we give glory to God. Once we know how to position ourselves. God will plant people on your behalf. God, there was no need for me to be acting MD that time, last year. There was no reason. Usually, because of my job, I'm not supposed to act as MD because my role is to check on the MD. I'm not supposed to act as the risk director because I am the one who is the bridge between the MD and the board. I report to the board. But for some strange reason, I was asked to act as MD. When I look back, I knew it was for her sake to go to South Africa for medical attention. That's how God works. He plants people on your behalf in the right place and things just happen. So, read the word of God. Ask yourself the right questions. Talk to people who can mentor you. By the way, mentorship is real. Huh? It's people who refuse to be mentored who become useless people. Elisha was mentored by Elijah. It was Ruth and, we have many stories in the Bible of mentor and mentor. It's healthy. As Africans, we must learn to be mentored. I've got different mentors who mentor me on different things. That's how it is. Okay? So, I need a question from the lady. As we come to a conclusion. Who wants to ask? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my first question is how do you balance your work life, personal life? How do you not how you just not exhausted and overtaken by life. That's one. Second, how do you get rid of the fear of being extraordinary? Because most of the time you think, okay, I'm failing to see myself as director, maybe I'm soft-spoken, and this, you find yourself talking about all the negatives, maybe, okay, most of the time it's the male who will have this position, or I'm young.
Yeah.
How do you get rid of the fear of being great at something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after, for example, maybe after this talk, how do you now keep your momentum? Because there's some days where, yes, you're going to be talking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but then the next day, maybe there's something discouraging happens and it's done.
Yeah.
How do you keep on focusing? Yeah.
Okay, pause and let me answer first. How do you balance, work-life balance, so that you don't burn yourself out, in short? I found the formula many years ago. For me, keep your life simple. Don't overcomplicate life, just make it simple. Now for me, naturally the way I operate, I'm a guy of habit. I love habit. Okay, that's why I love that book. I'm a guy of habit. Because habits, when they are good, they'll keep you away from unnecessary things. So my life is controlled by three things. Either I'm in the office, I'm at choir at church, or I'm at a farm. Full stop. Those are the only three things I do. You will not find me anywhere unless it's a place like this specific, I'm talking to people. You won't find me hanging out at, Chinese cafe. Or just hanging out at Pamo's Hotel, Dakara Chape, just watching people, drinking. You will never find me such things. I don't. So, because I have found myself and I have found my habit or my routine, I find so much satisfaction. I don't burn out. So much satisfaction, no burning out. I just change. When I go to sing for the Lord and I'm writing a song, the fulfillment it gives me is amazing. When I'm going home, I'm so refreshed. I've found my space. If your space is to be great in golf, go and play your golf. It's okay. If that's your line of working, go and do it. So that is, find your rhythm. Find what to do. That which gives you lots of satisfaction. That's why when she told me what she's doing, I told her, I gave her 100% endorsement. Do it, because I know the kind of satisfaction she gets from what she does. Simple lifestyle. Now, for people at my level and my age, this is when we want to do many good things of life. You know, get in my car, or roll the windows down, I even move the chair backwards, you know. I'm just driving and just looking around, you know. Good music. It's very simple. I have the money to buy anything I want or to spoil any woman I want. I can afford it. But is it the right thing to do? No. Now, I've told you the story. I used to walk 10 kilometers to go for work. So I know what it means to be poor, to walk. And I know what it means to have enough money. I drive a Range Rover these days. Vogue 2013 model. I know. Understand? So I know both worlds. Up to poverty, who just seem and assault, na sharp, I've been there. To a place today where I can go to any hotel and eat comfortably and not feel upset after I finish eating. So that So make your life simple. So I don't have to do those things. It's just I don't. I don't have to do things to make a point when you do Zimanepa. I don't. I have no reason to do that. I have no reason. And this is why for me, the car that I drive doesn't define me. Today I came here in my old car, the Hilux. People laugh when they smell the bag and why are you driving this car? This is an old car, keep it home. I said, no, but it's still my car. It moves. Just taking from home to here, my car's in the garage. I still drive it. People think because of my stature, I must not drive a car like that. Possessions don't define me. No. I can still own a plane. It doesn't change who primarily I am. The definition of Collin Chasha is exactly the same. So when you make your life simple and know who you are, my sister, you will not worry about so many things. Life becomes easy and straightforward. I have less trouble. I have nothing to worry about. These parties, what suit must wear now, those are things of the world that are too small. I've passed a stage of worrying about such things. No. I've passed a stage a long time ago. When you make your life easy, Steve Jobs. How many types of t-shirts did Steve Jobs used to wear? Huh? One. A black one, right? A jean, so. Now, when you know who you are and you've discovered yourself, these things become irrelevant. I'm telling you. You have a bigger goal that to pursue. So for Vala, every morning you wake up like you women, huh? You open your closet, there's 150 shoes and suits, and it takes you 30 minutes just to choose what to wear. 30 minutes. It means we're still at a small level. I'm discussing something which I can discuss with you later, or if you can discuss with them, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and connect it with the habits. Do you know why? Because we're still at the base. We are so concerned about vovala, food, basic things. Self-actualization at the top, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is where God has called each one of us. There, at the apex. Very few Africans ever reach there. Very few. If you go to London and you see a lineup of 5 limousines, you can know it's an African. I'm telling you. No, that's a different topic. Next time we invite me out, I will teach you on the manifestations of a poverty mentality. That one I'm passionate because I want our people to change their mindset. Wealth is a function of the mindset. Success is a function of the mindset. So, make it simple, your life. Huh? Just make it simple. Enjoy your life. Me, I dress the way I want. I go the way I want. I walk my way. People think I'm arrogant. I don't care what people think. It's me. Because the moment I start caring about what you think, I'm losing my identity. It means now I'm succumbing to identity. I will not allow anyone to define me. Me, I am defined by God and I pursue it. The second question was what?
How to get rid of the fear of being unknown?
The fear of the unknown is real for all of us. It can be both the fear of the greatness or the fear of failure. It's both. The intensity of these two fears is the same in your life. It can be so overwhelming when you can see the ditch you're going to, or the potential ditch ahead of you. It's painful. Even the other side. So, Moses is told that God has called you to liberate my people. The guy says, no, not me. Me, a man who stammers, a guy who can't speak, a guy who was born and hidden by the master's daughter in a reed at the river. Me, to be no. God had to impose himself on the man. Hey, you are standing on holy ground. That's when the man believed. But when God has shown you the future and what you're supposed to be, trust me, he provides the grace for that. He will not leave you alone. There will be tests, yes, there will be struggles sometimes here and there, but God will always provide the grace for you. So I come back again. Once you know who you are, and have a connection with God, and understand who you are, you will press on, even if things may not look good, because of seeing what God has called you to. Jesus Christ goes to pray. Peter has already denied him. He has seen the cross. He has seen the picture of himself on the cross, pierced and blood moving out of his body. He goes to pray and he prays tough prayers. And his petitions God. If possible, let this cup pass. But for the wise man, he ends by saying, but not my will, but yours be done. You'll get those moments. That's why you say, but Lord, not my will, but yours. Moments like that will always come. But for me, I get excited when I see the potential of my future. I get so excited. What I do, to give you one of my secrets. Every time I see that when I was in university, every time I had that revelation and what did you see? I had 4 specific songs, what I used to call my victory songs. I would go in the room, close the doors, close the windows, play it full blast, and I would dance into my victory, alone in my room. I would dance and sweat, dance until I feel the breakthrough. Then I would come out and do the extraordinary, which people may laugh at me. I didn't care. Now, extraordinary human beings do extraordinary things. If you want to be successful, you probably have to know and to prepare yourself to do extraordinary things. Next question.
How do you keep the drive?
How do you keep the drive going? Plan. Plan your life. Most importantly, you Africans, read. Why do Africans hate reading? Let me give you an example of how I prepared myself through my job. One of the things that I always like to do is to sound intelligent. Every time I'm on a conference call, I'm talking to people, I like to sound intelligent. What was Paul Ramada is talking rubbish. The last time I sold my books, I was in grade 10. From grade 10 up to now, I never sell any of my books for any examination I do. I have my grade 12 notebooks, some of them is stolen. First degree, all my books which I bought. You know how we do at school? You finish first year, you pass, you sell. Second year, you pass, you sell. So you finish your degree and go for work. Do you think you remember everything you learned in first year? You are just a glorified grade 12. I'm telling you. Because when you come to work in a situation, you can't remember, you can't apply yourself. And you have no reference point. Thank God for Google today. But then, in those days, there was no book. What I used to do, there's a situation, I quickly go back home, I go and read. I remember a lecturer taught me in second year. Read. When I come back to my boss, I have proper answers, brother. Sounding very intelligent. I used to get promoted like that. So that's how you prepare yourself. That's how you prepare yourself. Begin to oil yourself for greatness. Prepare yourself, reading, watch the right things, get mentored, connect people that can help you, who can encourage you. Connect. Keep it running within your spirit. You'll get there. Okay, Bupe. PwC is a very good institution if you are clear in your mind what you are there for. If you're not careful, you can rot in PwC. You'll be frustrated. So be clear in your mind, then you'll be very happy later. Question? Yes, sir.
In simple terms, how do you define success?
Success is doing what God has called you to do. First of all. That's success. If God has called you to be a dancer, my sister, dance your lungs out until the dancing pays your bills. You are successful. Just be in the place that God has called you. That's what success. It's got nothing to do with money or how many accolades. Just do what God has called you to do.
Last question was asked on the premise that in today's world, most of us young are looking at material things would be too much away from this. But it's something that everyone would admire. And that's the premise in which we are trying to success.
Yeah.
Possibly someone who is living, as you would say, just a simple life would not be defined to be successful. That's my part.
You are right. It's because that's the definition of the world of success. But we are not of this world, the Bible says. Scripture is very true. Huh? When the Bible, Romans 12 says we must renew our minds by not conforming to the standards of this world, it's true. When I see ladies come out like this, it's good. You don't have to feel inferior because you are showing your natural hair. No. You understand, my brother? Perception. Now, here's the issue. The Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness. Then all these things shall be added unto you. You want material things. Be in the place of God. That God has called you. So that's the follow. But brother, I have seen that myself. The first house that my wife and I owned just came on our lap. Just came on our lap. The cars that I've driven, I know the bank pays for them, but I've always driven cars beyond what a bank can pay for me. God opens the door and creates an opening specifically designed for me. The car that I drive is worth $290,000. I paid $150 for it. God just created an opportunity. And people think, this man is very wasteful. Why is he buying such expensive cars? I did not spend a penny on it. The bank paid. Even my previous car, something happened. It was 185. I bought it for 125. So, I know we all want material things, right? Material things will come to you at the right time. Do not pursue them. They'll kill you. They'll kill you. That's going to kill. Boom! Bad. Do not pursue material things. It's a sign of immaturity. Pursuing material things is immaturity. When you focus on the right things, the other things follow you. Goodness and mercy shall follow me. That's Psalm 23. All the days of my life, they should follow me. I'm not supposed to follow those things. That's why be careful with these prophets that are coming to them, telling you all sorts of stupid things that are not biblical. They're just bewitching you, they're bewitching your mind. So do not pursue, I'm telling you, when you do the right thing, things happen for you. Be a believer, follow the commandments of God, do the right thing, follow your path, the rest will come to you. I've seen people who don't own anything but they live like kings. They don't own them. You don't have to own a house to live in the bungalow. You have to own it. No. The actual value that we derive here on earth is the feeling of being in there or enjoying the facilities. Why do you want to own it? Think about it. The reason why we wanted Range Rover is want to feel the ambience of the softings. When you feel softings, feeling good. But should you spend all your savings just to go and own a Land Rover? The answer is no. Now, this is what God does. He will give you opportunity to live a life to eat like an elephant, even when an ant. But if you are in the wrong space, you will toil like an elephant and you will live like an ant. Pursue the right things. Your success in life is not dependent on the man who will marry you. Aren't you right? You know that, right? It's not a man. Be complete, and you are already complete as an individual. A man is just a parcela. When you put your trust in the arm of flesh, it will disappoint you. But you put your trust in God, He will come through for you. When we started, my wife and I didn't have anything. In fact, let me tell you, when I married my wife, I took her to Chasha. That's where our first home was. Now, it was the top of town and my church in 1997 when I got married. This man must be mad. My wife was coming from a house with DSTV and everything. I took her to a house, no DSTV. Now, she took a leap of faith to believe me and marry. The only thing I told my wife as I dated her was the potential of what God had told me, and she believed it. She bought into my vision wholeheartedly from the time I met her. She was 19, I was 23. She believed wholeheartedly that this man will make it. She was 19, I was 23. Even when I get married, people laugh, hey, this guy. The rest is history. The rest is history. Okay, young ladies? When you connect the right man, you connect divinely, you'll be amazed at how doors open. Doors open in a very unique way. God sets things up for you. They just happen like that. Not to go to the time. But for a company the whole night, the whole day, for someone to hear you. Certain struggles we go through have nothing to do with God. They have everything to do with our disobedience. And being in the wrong place. Question? No, you guys look too quiet and you want me now, huh? You okay? I hope. Come, yeah. You these guys, can you give us food? Please, yeah, well, let's eat as we talk.
My question is, does not always mean that you look for a second career or it was
Sarah again?
Does not always mean that you look for a second career or it was
No. Will you tonight? No. No. Tonight does not necessarily mean that it's a wrong thing for you. Sometimes it happens with tonight. It happens. But once you know, you will still go and knock again. There's a story in the Bible, just give an example. There's this widow who went and pursued this judge day and night until the judge gave her the because she was convinced, this is for me. Now the moments like that, sister, when you have, once God has given you the sight of it, it doesn't matter who said what, keep pushing. Now when I failed at University of Zambia, in natural sciences, I was a laughing stock. People laughed. But I knew who I was. And I went back in life and pursued. In second year, I was almost excluded from university. I failed 2 courses. I had to repeat. I changed a few things. You see, failure is just a sign that your strategy is wrong. Not that you failed, it's just a strategy. So when you're denied, change strategy. You'll get there. But sometimes denial definitely means it's the wrong place. But it takes you to have the mind of God to know that. Yes, sir.
And this one is more personal. I work in the public where much of the things that you bring before this afternoon are hidden. And many times when you try to make a difference, you're a misfit, so to speak. How would you advise create a balance?
That one is tough, and most Zambians struggle with it. We always, this country need to change, huh? This country, our attitude, our culture is such that we celebrate mediocrity. Anybody like you who wants to make a change in the family, they'll chuck you out. That's why even our political system has gone so low that a well-meaning man to make it through those hurdles, unless you become like them, what do you tell you? It's tough. That's how the world can change standards and impact the people. There's a scripture in the Bible, in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16, which was about the leaders who mislead the people into death. But it requires a man and a woman whose mind is changed to make a difference. So, in your case, it's tough. You must be willing to pay a big price for the sake of other people coming behind you. We need people like that will sacrifice things for the others coming. Make my heart gun, but my heart is not. It's sacrifice. Look at it this way. Mr. Mandela, 27 years in prison, you have the fish man. When they tell you, we will release you, that's a rich. The man says no. He says, this ideal, if it's dead, I will wear you dead. That's a man who says, I have respect to Mandela. 27 years in jail. When he gets the freedom of the people, he didn't say, now, let me sort out these authorities. Now, charities. No. Because he knew that he had achieved the mandate for his life. I'm not going to start quarreling with this white man and killing him. For what? I've achieved. Let me just go and die in peace. For you to make a difference, there's a price to pay. Sometimes a painful price, really painful price. But it must be paid nonetheless. One of the things to do, be persistent. Keep pursuing that which must do. It was tough for me in Barclays Bank, it was really difficult. In the first few years, people misunderstood me. They called me a sadist in the bank. You know those days how people used to call me a sadist, this man is difficult, this man is evil. But I had no apology to make for the decisions I make. Me, I don't apologize for decisions. When I'm wrong, and I know I'm wrong, I apologize. When I'm right, I don't apologize. But it's a price to make. Eventually, people will begin to understand you and appreciate you. But when you're all over the place, you can't. You can't make a difference. Stand firm on that. Sometimes you pay for it, but the glory may come many years later. Many years later. Many years later. I've seen young men, for instance, when I was younger in the music ministry, developing young men in the choir, some of them were so difficult, I would punish them, expel them from the choir, talk to them, you know. One of them only phoned me last year, after 15 years, and he says, but I shall not apologize to you for all the hardships I caused you to go through, and for my rebellion. Now I understand and appreciate the training you gave me 15 years ago. He's appreciating it now. If I wonder if this boy could be with, there's no need. So to be a changer in the environment, there's a price to pay. But the reward is higher than status quo. So choose. Status quo and just be there, or be more impactful and change your world and get rewarded. It's a choice we make. But Christianity is all about that. Because the Bible says, if you're going to get a reward now, God says, you have no value to heaven. But we do these things because of the reward in heaven also. So keep pushing, keep pursuing the dreams. The dream is bigger than the environment. Where God is taking you is bigger than your current status. Challenges are there. But once you focus on trust God now, you come through. The rest of the history. You remember this day. Don't give up. Don't give up at all. If there's no man coming to marry you, do not give up. Even at 43 you can marry and have healthy children. It's better to marry at 43 the right way than marry at 19 and grow in your life forever. My friend, I want to ask you a question. Can you see? Huh? Mr. Peter, talk to me. And then this one will ask you. Any questions, sir? Yes, sir. I'm back. I don't know what kind of money I don't put I'll come back to you. Second one. Question?
Oh yes, I want to make a recommendation. these personalities, it really, really aids in
What was the result?
ENTJ.
Okay, I'm an ISTJ.
ISTJ. Yeah, so
It's a good thing to do. Now, in fact, I was going to say that, but I was never did with you. Now I'm more knowledgeable. For all the new mentees I do, we do the strengths and weaknesses. I think I did with you. Did I ask you to do the personality test? Did I ask you? Yeah. Personality test. We didn't finish. There you go. So I always ask them to do a personality test. Guys, we are all uniquely created. Fearfully, wonderfully made. God has connected the wires in our bodies differently in the brain, very differently. So every time I do my personality test, it's exactly the same. So I know who I am. I know how I work. So the side of me which people don't like because I'm extremely forceful, it's just me. It's just how God has created me. I'm a forceful guy. I push for results. I push for result all the time. Now others are uncomfortable, but it's just me. So I've just come to accept. I don't apologize for it anymore. I used to feel bad for that. But I used to feel bad that I've pushed somebody. I remember one time we were in the studio recording. I pushed this woman. She was a married woman. She just broke down and cried in the studio. I felt so horrible. The husband was like, "Thank you, you're pushing me. You're calling me." It's sensitive, you know. But now I know that's what I am. One of the things that God has wrought in me is the ability to push for the results and get you to the point of positive. It's a gift for me, and I see it positively than negative. So it's good. Do a personality. In fact, they're free. Some of them are free on the internet. Do your own assessment, then do personality tests. You'll be amazed at how much you already know yourself. Go and try it. In fact, ask this man, he can give you the contacts. I saw your hand. Yes, ma'am.
But also, it's where I have a fear of making mistakes. And I think it's giving my self-confidence. So maybe every little that I do, I have to unask and feel. But I think it's killing my self-confidence. So how can I go about it?
Do you know what is that? That's what you asking? The scared of failing.
Yes, scared of failing.
So we must overcome that. The Bible says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind." Where there is fear, don't have a sound mind. You'll be, that's what people talk about, and worry, which leads to underperformance. It has so many consequences. That's why that sickness system must deal with it now. Allow yourself to fail. It's okay. Make the decisions by asking, make the mistake, they'll scold you, but you'll learn. Do it again, fail, it's okay. Fail down, then eventually you'll learn. You won't learn, you will not learn. But constantly asking, you'll never learn. Never. I was telling somebody yesterday that a baby must fall down and bruise the knees for that baby to learn how to walk. Otherwise, you'll never walk, you'll never walk. Allow yourself to bruise yourself. Fall down a couple of times, okay. Eventually, your self-confidence will be strong. You will be able to make decisions without asking questions, being fearful that people ask questions. And by the way, this is something that Razuko said, how I guess how to say that something. I'm scared. I'm not going to go to make mistakes. That's not scared. Because you feel like they feel. But when you start making decisions that are very close, they expect you. What's the second? Under. Are you related to boss? You're not. You're not for boss. Okay, so that's how you ask the question. Please ask the question. Then, as well as the food. But too, where's the food? Yeah, the food now. So that these guys can ask more questions. Yes, Nico. Any questions? I have no question. Yes, sir.
Being overly excited about something So I'm in that, let's call it my safe zone, where I'm basically surviving. I'm certain everything that will be within my space. But then, and let me make it more practical. My area of interest is landscape, and I'm passionate about it. So, but with regards to the industry right now in the country, it's in its infancy stage. So there are certain decisions as far as branching out, where you're definitely going into an area where you know this is definitely unsafe. Okay? Marriage plans, if I go this direction, I'm definitely not going to be looking a lot and so on. But the thing I want to get to is then not only hearing it from others, but even within it's there. Maybe I'm just overexcited. Landscaping makes me feel nice. Okay? It really doesn't have to be something I have to go after.
But brother, what makes you think landscaping will give you back?
No,
No.
okay. It's a long story, but in short,
What do you do right now?
right now I'm a student pursuing my master's in development studies.
So, why can't you do landscaping?
Like I said, long story, but in short, the short answer to your question, maybe practical, but the short answer to your question, it comes down to that one thing that I'm going to do. I worked for Jakarta Gardens, a landscaping company, and I went in with no profession. I just left home one day, I said, I really want to learn this. I walked up to their door, I was scared, I didn't even know anything. And I said, I've come, I want to learn, and so on. And they gave me an opportunity. And what I was getting paid there, okay, was even less than some of their casual workers. I just wanted to learn. Okay? But with time, they saw I was really interested, and I began to write. But it was still something I really loved. So then family came in, okay? So then now there's even the angle of honor your parents, okay? That angle comes in. Okay? And then there's a free opportunity, my dad's a lecturer. So I'm a tuition waiver to get a master's. Okay? So it comes down to that. Yeah,
Which is good.
Which is
So
good,
you'll
yeah.
be a
So-
well-educated landscape.
So now my question is this. Just that one thought. Maybe I'm just being overly excited. I don't know if it comes down to fear, I don't know what it is. Uncertainty.
I'll tell you what, there's no way God can give you that level of excitement or something, or that level of comfort for landscaping and it means nothing to you. No. No. That's not how God works. You have everything to make you happy. Let me tell you. If you know what it is that makes you happy and you don't do it, you'll be better than much. Eventually, that misery will transfer to your wife and your children. Extremely dangerous. Pursue your studies. You can still. You know how much money science creation makes for those plants they sell? How many of you have been there? How much is a palm tree at science creation?
It's in the thousands.
More than 1,000, a palm tree. They are called upon to do landscaping for companies, and they charge us for money. How do we know? You may be the one with landscaping at State House, at the embassy, at all these new companies coming up. You may be the one. And with education, people trust you. Why is educated? With a master's degree, yes, they'll trust you. They will know that you've got the ethics, you have got the exposure, you understand how the world operates, they'll trust you. If you go there with a graduate certificate, they say, that guy. You understand? So, both, in my opinion, both of them can complement each other. Very easy. I told you that for me, I've always enjoyed farming. I've done all these things, and I knew at some point I must own a farm. One day, I got a piece of land. And one day I woke up, I told my wife and my son, let's go to the farm. We drove food on the speaker somewhere, road Yassin. Back to the vehicle, we walked for a couple of kilometers. I'd already designated a special tree where I knew I'd go to my family. In fact, I told them back to We have a picnic at the farm. So they packed up with snacks. Lo and behold, there was no farm, it was just under a tree. My wife thought I was a partner, and we were very young in our marriage at the time. She said, honey, are you sure this is the farm? I said, yes, all these trees, this is our farm. I could see the level of confusion in her mind. I'm telling you, we drove back to that place, my wife was quiet in the car, very quiet. I knew she was still processing what had happened earlier. Either my husband has run mad, or there's something smoking, I'm sure. I did not take her there until after 1.5 years. I used to go there, and then I would knock off, go there, did some bent bricks, I built a few things, I did some landscaping, took her there. This time there was a house and there's green and everything. She cried. She says, are you sure this is the same bush? I said, yes, and it's the same bush transformed into something happy. And today, that's my wife today answered the question when I'm making decisions for the family. She has seen. I've earned my integrity in that area. So, the farm is running today. I keep goats, I keep sheep and pigs. I sell. So, last week, or 2 weeks ago, I left the office. I'm not going to late. Went home, called to the truck, drove to the farm, slept there. 5 in the morning, my truck was packed all the pigs in there. No pigs smell, huh? Packed all the pigs, drove to Master Pro, sold the pigs. 8 o'clock, I'm in the office in my suit and tie, and smelling good with perfume. Nobody would have known I was transporting pigs at 6 in the morning. Nobody would have known. 2 days later, I have my check. I've been paid 45,000 bucks. You understand? So I'm working as a senior person in the bank, and I'm doing all my passions farming, and they're both complementing each other. And I'm a happy man. I'll not ask for anything else. You can do it. Eventually, I want to stop working. I want to stay at my farm. And I want to do what I love most. Writing songs, doing music, and talking to people like this. I love that. I want to be able to have all the investments I've done to finance this and be able to support you for whatever you want to do. Okay? Without having to be scared of okay, that one's a chocolate. Start going begging for money. Money should come. That's what you call self-actualization, fulfillment in life. Then you live long. One of the reasons why Zambians die early because of depression and what? And they're not happy. So you can do it. I'll come and ask you after 3 years. Please, to get his contacts, I need to see this man 3 years from now.
The uniform career, pray for the good.
Sorry?
The uniform career.
Sovereign God, our Father in heaven, creator of heaven and earth, it is a blessing and a comfort to know and remember in this day that the God who has created us is the very God that sustains us each day and wants the best for us. So our Father in heaven, we thank you for the life given to us in this day, and for a moment such as this when we can meet, Heavenly Father, even to consider a manner of discussion and to learn from your child, oh God, principles of life. We pray, oh God, that in all these things we seek to honor you and glorify your name, and that Heavenly Father, above all, we walk in the steps that you have purpose for our lives. So now we thank you for the provision of food before us, and we ask that you may bless it as we partake of it, trusting thee and looking to thee for the rest of the day, even as we will come to the end of this meeting and everything else that will follow. So go before us, O God, giving you thanks in the name of thy Son, the blessed Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Please, before you collapse the hand, when you look at your eyes about to cross, please look at it.
Then I'll encourage you to be honest. So I think that our mind is not what does it like to eat?
Yeah, I want to eat a lot.
Thank you. I'll get it soon.
So be blessed and enjoy yourselves. Remember, there's nothing that is impossible in life. Impossibility is a word that was created by man, not by God. So believe in the ability God has given you, you will achieve. Delight your words in the Lord and you shall fulfill the desires of your heart, like I said. If you do that, things will look fortunate for you in due course. Okay? So thank you for your time.
Yes, one more thing, sorry.
Before you leave, we'd like to give you a notebook and idea, like color pens.
What are you telling you? Thank you.
But on behalf of everyone, I think this has really been an eye-opening situation. There are many things that have approached to a number of people. We've heard about you, especially those that Chilu personally mentors. We've heard about you, and we appreciate the fact that from the mentorship you're giving her, that's spreading out to many other people. Yeah. So from the lessons today, also about you speaking about David, we've been reading the story of David, chapter 1 and 2. So we just finished that, and I think some of the lessons from David are kind of seen in your life. How he was, what do they call it? A man after God's own heart, but he still struggled at certain points. So I think it's a good thing to know that things, even as a Christian, you want to have it perfectly, but if you keep your focus, I think things will go well. So I think personally, I've picked out focusing, knowing myself, and then starting to call the shots as time goes by. Yeah. So I think on behalf of everyone, we just want to say thank you very much, really.
Well, enjoy yourself, guys. See you. Thank you. All right. Can I get the banana from here?
Yes.
Just like that. I used to buy the flat.
And check.
The fresh one.
You're not closing. You're not closing. You're not closing.
I hope the meeting has been very helpful.
Yeah.
Anybody? I hope we had fun.
Yeah.
I hope you've learned something. I hope you understand why I thought it would be nice to meet him. Yeah. So that's the kind of person I deal with. Like he said, I struggled with doing his assignments. Yes. I did run away from him half the time. Clearly some assignments I haven't finished, like has been reviewed. But I think what is most important and what is key is it took me a long time to discover a lot of these things, especially about myself. You know, it's this year basically that I have sat down and really got to know most of what it is that I should have learned much earlier, despite having an opportunity of having met that man in 2011, you know, and taking the time to be schooled by somebody. And I hope and I pray that for somebody it won't take you that long as well to realize, but to realize that, right, you know, like he said, God has a purpose for each and every one of us. He's like, I'll give an example of trade kings. Trade kings, have they ever put a box of boom on the shelf and it has no purpose? It has, isn't it? There's no manufacturer who will make a product and he has no use for it. When a product has been made, the manufacturer knows exactly what its purpose is, and that's why he puts it there, and it's complete, it has all the power, it has everything that it has in it. And that's how we are as well, as Christians. And that's why it's very important. We have learned from the assembly several times about finding our spiritual gifts, about finding our, so that's basically what he was talking about. So we need to know, the Lord has given us what we need to, can somebody read from Proverbs 16 verse 1? Proverbs 16 verse 1. When you go home, read up to verse 9. But right now, just verse 1, I'd like us to refer to. So, okay, go ahead. Proverbs 16 verse 1.
Okay. The preparation of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from. I go to.
Go on, yes, go on.
Is from all the ways of a man. Are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirits. Commit thy ways unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established.
Verse 1 and 2 basically says the preparation. All that needs to be done, all the preparation is on man. But it's the Lord who eventually works things out for us. So the Lord has a purpose, the Lord has a path, the Lord has a way that He wants us to go. It's in our jobs, it's in our lives, in our families, it's wherever we are. The Lord knows exactly what it is that He wants us to do and the purpose that He wants us to fulfill. It's up to us as man to sit down and go back to the Lord and ask the Lord to reveal exactly what it is that He wants us to do. Like Paul said, what did you want him to do? Was it his first cry to the Lord? I pray that's our cry, all of us, that we must know and discover what the Lord wants us to do. When He puts you in a job, He doesn't put you in that area actually because that's what He thinks you should survive with. No, He puts you there for a particular reason. He wants His word spread out right there. And that's the reason why as Christians, wherever we are, we need to be an influence. We need to be the ones that attract people to Christ in the way we live our lives. So He'll put you in a job, He'll make you hardworking, He'll make you the one who everybody wants to confide in, just so that people come and get a glimpse of what it is that makes Chewa different, you know? When they want to discover that, then they then discover it's actually the Christ in you, and people are then drawn to the gospel. And that's what's most important about us. So wherever we are, if it's in a job, let's work hard. If it's in a family, let's work hard. If it's in school, let's work hard. All we need to do is whatever we do in our lives, just always remember the glory should go to the Lord and nobody else. So I hope you have learned a thing or two today. Whatever it is, I hope you have learned. You'll notice on your tables, I hope everybody has. There's a weekly success planner. Does everybody have this? No.
Yep.
Please keep it. You're not keeping it to put in your archives. Remember he said something about planning. If you want your life to be in order, plan. Please, if you can, I wish you had better copy. When you're still on copiers and printers from work, you get found out somehow. But if you can make copies, or if not, you try and get a soft copy around, if you can print nice clear copies, keep this. Plan your weeks, see how it works. Try it out. The secret is to try it out. Don't look at it and say, this thing doesn't work. Try it. Have you tried it and it does not work for you to say this thing doesn't work? So get it down right. Get another copy for the next week right. Get another copy another week. If you feel it doesn't work after trying it 6,000 times, then throw it away. If you haven't tried it 6,000 times, do not give up on it. Try it again and see how it works and see how your life is going to be changed. So please, if you don't have, we still have extra copies of this. We have also pen paper. I hope you made use of it. This was the whole idea. So if you have anything else to sketch that you want to write or anything like that, please, you feel free to do that. I hope everybody has a little notebook. The whole idea we had behind getting this notebook is just so that you walk away from this evening with the memory of it. Number one. Number two, when you look at this notebook, it will probably remind you, at any point if you feel like you want to give up, that somebody took the time to come and spend his whole afternoon. You heard what his position is. Even at the back, we don't talk to him like that, where you just come down and you talk to him. All of the bosses up there, he reports straight into the MD. So yeah, you know. But he took his time to come and meet all of us here and come and sit down with us. So if you ever feel at one point you feel discouraged, you feel things are not working, look at your list and look to the Lord first. But look at your list and remember that you need to stay focused and have the focus. Number three, the reason for this notebook, and for me is the most important one, and the reason why we didn't get a whole big book but a lovely small book, is so you can carry it around. Ladies, in your pockets, in your handbags, carry this book. Gentlemen, in your pockets, if you can, whatever extra luggage you have, carry this book. Why? The brain does not remember a lot of things very well. And I have discovered that. Some of us have very bad memory for taking medication to read. Some have very good memories. But I can bet you, they say whatever you don't write down in 7 minutes, you will forget. And whatever you do not write down in 30 minutes is gone completely. Have you ever sat down and you come from a ministry at church, and it was a beautiful ministry, but you can't remember what he said at that point where he said something very nice, and you say yourself, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Then you get home and somebody asks you, how was the ministry? And you can't remember what he said. Has anybody ever gone through that? That's how the human mind works. Is that a question or it's a confirmation? Confirmation. Amen. So the reason why you have this notebook is, they say, when you think it, ink it. When you think it, ink it. You think of something, you hear somebody say something, write it down. He told me earlier, he has a little notebook he showed me where he writes down newspaper, article he writes, whatever he writes. When he's traveling for meetings and everything like that, he's on the plane, he pulls out his book. Then he reads. Then he goes into a meeting and says, you know, the copper price in 1997 was this. Wow, the gold price in 1992 was that. And then the gold price in this year is this. So the more economy is affected, how does it look? Smart, huh? But all he did was that day when he saw it in the newspaper, he wrote it. When he was on the plane, he went back to his book and he read it. And then he goes into the meeting, and he's the sharpest man. But all he did was write. Nothing else. That was all he did. So that's the reason why I'm giving you this little notebook. Write down whatever it is. You find something interesting, write. If somebody says something at the pulpit, write. If somebody says something somewhere, write. I wrote down the other day, it was not raining when Noah built the ark. That's how I've been able to remember it. And does that make any sense? It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. It blew me away. I was saying to myself, that's very true. Half the time, it's when the crisis has arrived. Yeah, now what do I do here? You know? Oh, now I've been given this set of promotion. What do I do with this job? But now this thing has come. Prepare well in advance. So when the rain comes, you are in the ark, and the rest are perishing outside. So it was not raining when Noah built the ark. Always remember that. Every day, use the day to prepare. Every day you wake up, do one thing that is going to help you to get to your destination, help you to get to your destiny, help you to get to your purpose. Do one thing every day. Do one thing. That's what we encourage to study the Word of God. Every day. Not read. Next year we're not reading the Bible. Everyone. That's the homework I'm giving to everyone. Because I'm standing here on that authority, I'm telling everyone, if I have any authority, I will use it today. No reading the Word of God next year. Bible says, study. Study to show thyself. Study means you open your Bible and you pray. Lord, reveal to me what is in this Word of God. I want to see what is here. Get a notebook. Get your Bible. If you have different versions, get your different versions. Read the verse. Some verses are clearer in different versions. Some verses are clearer in another version. Read it once there. Read it twice there. Read it there. Take the time from there. Move on. Get a pen. Write. In this chapter, there were these characters. There was Moses, there was Aaron, there was Miriam, there was Pharaoh. Write them down in your notebook. There was the river, there was the palace, there was this. Write it down. Write down whatever you can find in the Word of God. Move systematically like that. Try and analyze. Try and see what was the application then. What is the Lord trying to say to them then? What's the Lord trying to say to me now? How can I apply that scripture to me now? When you walk away from a chapter and look at it that way, will you forget it? How many scriptures did he quote when he stood here? Some of them, maybe we've never heard, you know. But it's simply because he takes the time to get his Bible and to read. And that's what we need to do. Read and study the Word of God. Why is it important? I'll end with this point. The most important book to study is the Word of God, because that's the one that is going to take us into eternity. What we are discussing now is just for this lifetime. That's all. We live how many? 80 years or so. Some of us must be halfway by now. You know? But things of this earth are just for now. The landscape is just to look after you for the 2 years that you have been living before you get to 80 or 100 or whatever year you're going to get to. But for the rest of eternity, what are we going to be discussing? Have Have you ever sat down and imagined how heaven is? Sorry, I do imagine how heaven is. Probably a time to think, okay, now let's discuss Ezekiel. And everyone is there, Ezekiel, what are you going to say? You know? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about God when he comes and he asks, you know, I gave you a letter, I wrote you a letter, did you read it? Yeah, Lord, I read that part in John where you had the wedding at Cana and you read wine. Yeah, did you read what I said to you when I wrote to Jeremiah? And you're blank. How are you going to feel? We should be glad maybe there's no regret in eternity. But I don't think we want to go there like that. Let's read, let's study. The word of God is going to carry us forward. Eternity will not end. So if we don't invest now, we'll be in a place forever where we have not invested. Let's try. We've been given a chance to invest now on our heaven. Let's do that. So let's make time for the word of God. I know we are busy with work, but the word of God is the most important thing to us. Let's make use of it. Sorry I talked a bit too much, but thank you very much, all of you, for sacrificing your afternoon and coming through. The rain was a challenge, I know. I guess it was a test of faith, but you braved it, and I'm very, very happy. And I hope this meeting has been very helpful. If you have any questions, anything, please, where I can help, I will help. Where I can't, at least to know the answer when it comes and it sounds a bit colorful, then I probably went and consulted. Yeah. So if I have no answer, I will tell you I have no answer. At least I know I can go and consult and come back with an answer for you. So if anything you need, if you need this time, you need anything, please feel free. You can mention it. You can find a way of getting him to come back anytime you're available. Anything, I'm available anytime. You know, I'm home for now until my work things are concluded. There's enough things in that area, but continue praying for me as I continue praying for all of you. I will pray for you every day. I pray that next time I say that, I will confidently speak like Paul who says, I pray for you. Yeah. So, thank you very, very much. If you need anything, please. I might say,